and see what we can do as we start to the top left-hand side. Our pink Protoss player, give it up if you're going to be cheering on Zest. As to the bottom right-hand side, the yellow Protoss player in this PvP showdown is going to be Stats. 6 workers in PvP is an interesting one because it can, as it can change some bits and pieces. We're just going to see this initial pylon coming down. Obviously, again, I mean, it's weird because nowadays you usually see in PvP the 2-gate based play, and that's because of the fact that nowadays you kind of hit that much money to invest in a second gateway so early on. So it's kind of intriguing that we see this sort of setup here so early, kind of like... It's intriguing to see what setup we'll see, I suppose. Sorry, my mind's elsewhere because of this admin issue that we had, but it's all good now. So it'll be intriguing to see how this plays out, as we do just see for now a gateway being thrown down on either side of the map. A simulator is coming down as well, and probably not a second gate, I guess. I mean, it depends if they want to play one base or not. Because again, a lot of the issues nowadays in this sort of PvP in 6 workers is that if you don't go 2 gates, it's much harder to expand. But how do you go 2 gates off of 6 workers? Like, you just don't have the money for it to then go into next as well. It's really weird. Like, it actually really does diversify this matchup completely from the Legacy of the Void PvP that we're used to seeing. So, intrigued to see how this is going to go. Thank you, by the way, Tom's OB, for that cheer 100 in the chat. Got some Wardy hearts up in here for Tom's OB. Thank you so much for your cheer 100 and support of the channel. As always, day by day, cheering 100. Hey, you know, if you cheered 100 every day of the year, you'd end up donating $365. Isn't that insane? Isn't that insane? Thank you very much for the cheer 100. Do appreciate it, mate. And some love in the chat for that. As for so far, builds are just mirroring each other. Cybernetics cores are going to be finishing in the next few moments, as we see the warp gate starting up on that Cybernetics core, and still no real sign of what's going to happen next to those stats. Does have quite a few minerals, looking as though he might be able to go in towards the Nexus a bit faster here, while across the map Zest will build up the Mothership core, and he'll also start that Stalker out as well on the gateway. So, a little bit interesting here, a little bit intriguing. Not quite your ordinary, of course, and I think this is what's cool about the 6 worker start, that even if it maybe isn't kind of the most standard of openings here, it's just a bit different from our usual StarCraft. It's cool. It's nice to see some, you know, some stuff that's a little bit different every now and then. As we do have the Stalker coming over to the top side, having a little bit of a look to see what's going on. Twilight Council will come down as well from Zest here in the back of the main base. So building up that Twilight Council already, getting that set up and ready to go. As we do just see the Adept and the Stalker just going to trade some hit points for a little while. And you can see the Mothership core of Zest just going to be moving through the center of the map as well. This Adept going to move out onto the map also. And Stats just looking to see what's up and what's happening as Nexus does come down for him. So he will expand early. What will Zest do? I mean, the Twilight coming up, I mean, I guess he can just apply pressure with Blink off of 1 gate and 3, off of 1 base and 3 gateways. So far, that's the direction he seems to be taking this in, unless he goes Dark Shrine's a possibility. I think Blink is a very standard way to go about it from this sort of point, though, and Zest will start to push out onto the map. His Mothership core comes in from the side, and it's going to be kind of a pretty typical sort of, I guess, pre-Legacy of the Void Heart kind of PvP game, where we get to see kind of how difficult it was sometimes for us players to expand. What's interesting is obviously back in Heart of the Swarm, we actually saw the Mothership core was a thing, but we used to see the Nexus overcharge rather than the pylons. So that works a little bit differently nowadays, so I wonder how it will affect Zest's aggression here. Thing is, it's Abyssal Reef, and so with the Blink, there's actually a couple places he can attack. Obviously at the front against this first pylon and against the natural expansion in general. And then he can also blink in to the side, which allows him to come up in this direction and then sort of just attack elsewhere and start maybe pulling Stats apart a little bit. He is currently warping in a sentry. Might be useful for force field on the ramp potentially, but that doesn't stop a lot of this potential Blink aggression. More Stalkers warping at home for now. The pylon over here will build soon. I'm surprised Zest was so careless with this probe. He ran it right up this ramp before backing away, which means that Stats has already seen it. I mean, that's already great information here for Stats to work with. The fact he knows that a probe has been pulled over to this side of the map. But there's even so much more he can still learn from it, as we see the Type Bomb going down here. Look at that. Zest is just going to try and slow down some of the mining of Stats. I mean, it's kind of strange, actually. Like, it's not really going to have that much of an effect. I guess he thought he was going to lose the Mothership core. I mean, it's kind of all or nothing for Zest right now. He really wants to just push in here and break his opponent. He does need this MSC, though, because without the MSC, he cannot jump up to the high ground as easily, which is what he wants to do in a couple of moments where he might be able to just catch this. Well, actually, it's an observer about to pop, so if he comes in here, kills this pylon and this pylon, that means no second no second immortal coming out. And obviously, that then becomes a big issue. This pylon is going to maybe get taken down. The Stalkers back themselves into a corner a little bit. He's actually going to dive forwards onto this immortal. The barrier's already gone. He blinks to the other side of the force field. He's actually not targeting down that center of Guardian Shield, but now it dissipates anyways. The Mothership Core's going to go down. Now he just backs away from that overcharge again. Okay, there's an immortal on the way out, but the lack of a Mothership Core here will be huge. There's that pylon coming into play. 3 more Stalkers of Zest warping in right now as he tries to pressure this front still. But I mean, Stats still has a decent amount of units. He's still got that immortal up here once again. Now no Mothership Core. Stats just has to defend at the front. He doesn't have pylons, but you know, again, Zest isn't able to jump up into the main base either. So it's kind of one of those weirder situations where Stats has sort of made a good hold. And actually, I think Stats, it's not really that weird. Stats just has made a good hold. We see a commitment forwards from Zest. I mean, that Immortal's going to survive, though, and the force field comes down. GG will be called. Stats will take game number 1 of this best of 3. And he'll go series 1-up in this series. Top left-hand side, our yellow Protoss player from Splice. Give it up if you're cheering on Stats. On the bottom right-hand side, our pink Protoss player, currently teamless, Zest. So, as we set up into this, just going to see probes continue to pop on out, nothing really crazy super early. Start of game number 2. We'll be back to being a bit more laid back if it were not for this pylon across the map from Zest, looking to proxy gate his way potentially into a game number 3 of this series. So you can see the first gate coming down in a moment, and actually proxy gates is something we've seen a lot of in previous editions of the OG 6 start. Proxy gates, super early proxied barracks. These builds that sort of got eliminated a little bit by the fact of, by the 12 worker start, because of just how much economy there is in the game with 12 workers and how easy it can become to defend these sort of attacks, even just somewhat blindly some of the time. So first gateway comes on down Zest. He's making a gas as well, so this is not just going to be proxied zealots. There's going to be probably a proxied cybercore as well, and just pressure from the get-go with Stalkers and more. There's a second gateway as expected. Now in this metagame as well, 2-gate Stalker can be very powerful because of the fact that Stats, as we saw in the last game, is very likely to just open with a single gateway. And that's that gateway which is building right here, right now. So that gateway is going to come up here in a moment or so, as we see Cybernetics Core just begin to build. So Zest so far hidden well in Stats, yet to scout. Obviously has absolutely no idea of what is going on in this game just yet. We're still sitting on this Nexus. So do you have, well, back at home from Zest, just that gas mining. Really nothing too spectacular right away. He's going to Chrono Boost out of the Zealot here, whether he sends it into the mineral line to reveal what's going on or not. That's one of my main questions, because if he does, he could get some damage. But he also reveals sort of what is happening in this game, and it allows Stats to start preparing. Going to boost out the Mothership Core, etc. So here we go. He's going to see this right now, and immediately he's going to start looking for some damage. And I guess the earlier you get damage done, of course, the better. Zealot will get surrounded, though. And Stats, ooh, a little bit of mismicro there. Didn't pull back the damage probe. And again, he actually just tries to reposition the workers. 3 workers lost to the first Zealot. 4 workers lost. Stats, this is not how you defend against this Zealot at all. This is kind of the opposite of what you're meant to be doing. That was not good. 5 workers going down already. The worker of Zest there will fall. Now Stalker out. 2 Stalkers can of course fight this adept very effectively. Mothership Core on the way from Stats, but is it going to be here in time? I don't know. It's kind of a tough one. It's very, very close. We see these probes continue to be worked away out. The Stalkers continue to just pick away, do little bits of damage here and there. And we're seeing these probes continuing to drop, and well, there is the Mothership Core popping out now. Going to jump right on top of these Stalkers. Stalkers being pushed away. Stalker pops out as well. Obviously, Zest will have reinforcements very shortly, though, and that's why probes have to pull it in from Stats to try and make this the best trade possible. However, that Mothership Core now very far forwards, and these Stalkers might just get enough connections. It's going to die. Overcharge pop, but not really in that useful of a position. And actually on this left side, this gateway is powered just by a single pylon, and that's why the probes have to keep on pulling, because they cannot afford for that pylon to go down. He cannot afford for Zest to just work his way through it. Another Stalker Pops to keep on trying to fight here, but so far the probe count continues to drop across the map. Actually, a single Adept from Stats has come over and has started to work his way through the mineral line, which is a huge amount of damage done. Zest is going to start running out of eco, but he already has a good amount of Stalkers up, and that might just be enough here, as this Stalker's still stuck till the very end, but he will escape, and Zest will keep these units alive with some neat bits of micro. 0 workers for Stats, 1 worker for Zest, which is the one across the map here. Problem is, Stats does not win in the base trade. Zest does. GG, and Zest will take game 2 to tie this up. To the top left hand side, our yellow Protoss player from Splice. Give it up if you're cheering on Stats. Bottom right hand side, our pink Protoss player. Give it up if you're cheering on Zest. Let's hope for a bit of a longer game. It's been pretty fast so far, pretty fast, pretty dirty. Proxy gates have been used. We saw aggression in the TVZ as well. It'd be nice to see some longer games out of this, as we set up into our 3rd game of the series. Again, thank you for joining us here tonight. Let me know what's up. Let me know how you're all doing. Hope you're all having a fantastic time and are ready for a whole bunch more StarCraft 2 action as we continue through the evening. It's going to be a long stream for me in general, from StarCraft 2 through to PUBG later tonight. We're going to be streaming PUBG after the OG 6 start. What's wonderful about today is that we have no stream delay because of replays, and so we don't have to reset the stream for once, which is like a magical feat. It really is. It's somewhat insane. It's nice. It doesn't happen very often. Alright. Setting up into this game. Again, we've seen these PvPs have been pretty slow to start in game number 1. Game 2, of course, was a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more high action from the get-go. Maybe this time we see both players opening in towards 2 base playstyles, rather than in game 1 where Zest did opt for that early aggression. Although that said, here we go. Stats is going to go for the proxy pylon. So from Zest playing 1 base blink to proxy gateways, throughout this series he's always been the initial aggressor. This time it looks as though it's going to be Stats changing it up and bringing his probe across to this side of the map already. Let's see what's going to happen as we see this pylon finishes up. Should just be a Stargate. Nothing really else you can build on this side of the map that you can hide super well. Unless he really wants to hide like a Twilight or something early in the game. Well, there you go. I guess Twilight it will be. So Stat's going to hide a Twilight, which you would imagine, because it's hidden, will probably lead into Dark Templar production as well. So looking out for some DTs here most likely, as we see from Zest. Well, no major movement to anything just yet. Well, there we go. There it is. His tech comes down. It's going to be a Stargate from him to try and play this side. Obviously, the Stargate not the best against a Dark Shrine, but it does still give you something to detect with. Those Oracle's Revelations will be enough. I guess we'll find out in the next few moments. Do you see a Adept coming through the center of the map from Zest? Dark Shrine coming down then from Stats as well, bottom left-hand side. And Adepts just running past each other so far. Nothing too hectic or too ridiculous about that. Another Stalker pops out as well, just sitting in the mineral liners. Again, I mean, as Zest comes in over here, he's going to realize no Nexus, but also a complete lack of just anything else in the main base. And so a proxy, there's something he's going to have to start thinking about to some extent. No Mothership Core just yet either, so this Adept is not going to be turned away instantly. 3 kills already. And he's going to stick around and try and get more, because I don't think a pylon is around on this side of the map, or on this side of the mineral line. And now Stats is going to have gas mining delayed. That's going to hurt here, as the Dark Shrine halfway done a gateway as well to speed up those warp-ins. As a follow-up to this from Stats, I mean, if he doesn't do much damage, he could just start up a Twilight upgrade. First Oracle of Zest starts to move out onto the map. That's not great when it comes to defending these Dark Templar, as we do just see Zest. He does have a robot on the way up though, of course, so that does mean he will have something potentially. How's he going to time out then? DTs finish about now. Warp in here, run to the main base. They should arrive just before an Observer comes out, but that's the issue. The Observer will be very close to being out here when this Observer is going to pop. If it is an Observer first, if it's going to be something like an Immortal first, that could go the way of Stats then, of course. 2 DTs warp in, Let's see what they can do. They're actually going to warp in close, but there's still a delay on the warp in because they're not warping in from a gateway now. And so coming over here, those DTs will start to move on forwards. The Oracle did come across the map and picked up a couple of kills before being deflected. Let's see what happens. DTs, they're seen by Zest, so he's even going to be able to force field before these observers here. Great observing. I mean, he has to realize something is up though. Like, he's been around the map. Oh, he actually saw the DT shrine at some point, probably with an Oracle or some sort of scout. So he knew it was coming. He's watching for those DTs. Hit the force field perfectly. And now Zest has defended well. 24 workers to 22. I mean, there is that blink on the way up from stats. We expect him to play this blink as a follow-up, I suppose, to the Twilight kind of Dark Shrine rush. Because, I mean, he's got the Twilight up. He may as well get into blink. That means Zest can very safely back at home build into his Nexus. Now, is there a way for Zest to get on the map and to clean out this pylon? Probably not. Because I feel as though, if he moves out right now, DTs still have a chance to move on in and do damage. And Zest doesn't have a ton of units, so it's a little bit risky. I'd actually kind of like to see him maybe making a Prism, lifting up the Immortal and taking it over here. Just to empower the Twilight. But I guess it could be repowered. But it still could be really annoying, right? It's one of those things where it actually would go a long way to kind of slowing stats down if he could stop that Twilight from upgrading. At the same time, does he need to? His Nexus is much earlier. He's defended the initial DTs, having taken 0 damage. Zest doesn't need to take risks right now. You know, if Zest takes a risk, well, what if Stats went for a big attack and now his Immortal's out on the map? He's wasted time building a Warp Prism. That wouldn't really be ideal for him at all. He's going to start moving forwards now, though, so maybe he doesn't feel like that at all. Maybe the timing of an attack has passed, he feels. He's just poking around, though, looking to see if he can find a pylon. Hasn't checked up to the right-hand side where he would find one of these pylons, though. TT moving forwards, and it will be seen here by the Observer, which means that Zest can turn around and start moving forwards to just deflect this. Shouldn't get the kill. TTs do move pretty quickly, and so it will stay alive for now. As 2 Stalkers of Stats joining up on this side of the map as well. There's Blink now in play. He'll warp in a couple more Stalkers. Going to try and utilize this Blink early on just to try and get what he can out of these units. If you've got the Stalkers, if you've got the upgrades, you may as well try to do something with them. Because at this point, you're not going to lose the Stalkers because you can blink away from most dangerous situations as long as you're paying attention, which someone like Stats should be doing. And if you're able to blink away from most situations, then you're pretty much picking up free damage throughout the engagement. Apologies, guys. Had to cough for a moment. As Zest going to be throwing down the Twilight Council, will be finishing up in just a few moments' time. A few Immortals here. Very powerful units, the Immortals, and that will help Zest to stay alive, despite the fact he doesn't have Blink against Blink of his opponent. 3 Stalkers will come forwards with this Hallucinate Phoenix, look to blink up to the high ground. Maybe they just pick away at this pylon. Blinking up here might be a bit too much of a give. We're actually going to see the Overcharge coming down, and now Stats. He's kind of committed into this location. He's in a little bit of trouble. Overcharge will be able to do a bit more damage on the way out. As they use Blink again, though, these Stalkers are going to be in trouble. Great force field. Sort of feels as though Zest might have been able to move forwards and pick off this Stalker as well. But getting the 2 Stalker kills is already fantastic. And he finds, just in general, Stats out of position. Makes the most of that. And that's fantastic here as we see that Blink about 25% of the way done. And another Immortal on the way up outside of the main base. These 2 Hallucinated Phoenix going to move out onto the map as well. Look to see where they can go. Charge on the way up from Stats as well. Just going into the next stage of this, which is going to be kind of Charged or Immortal. Probably Archons as well, though we don't see him set up to go into those just yet. I mean, he's got a few DTs, I suppose. Generally like to build those Archons off with the High Templar. It's actually intriguing because Stats is the first player to start the 3rd Nexus, so feels as though he's got a little bit more map control perhaps and feels as though he can place that safely. He actually places it down to the south side. Zest will take the Pocket expansion as his 3rd base, so different choices between the players as to which bases they're going to take next. Obviously will depend or change up how they defend their bases. I wouldn't say there's a massive advantage to taking this one over the other. This one has a lot more open space down here. This one, it's just a bit more natural to move to because you never have to move down this ramp yourself. So I guess Zest is just saying, I feel like I have an army that can always be down here in position. I'm not going to have to fight down the ramp at any point. And I've got a more open location to fight in rather than a bit more of a choked up position here, which can be a little bit problematic sometimes if you attack from this position. So it's kind of one of those things where basically it just changes how you have to defend the base, and obviously being in a different position in the game can influence how you're going to try and defend said base. Temple Archive is dropping down from Zest in the back of the main. He himself going into charge. And the one thing that is coming up from Zest that's missing from stats is that +1 attack upgrade. That's over halfway done here, and that will give Zest something, a little bit of a slight edge here in these engagements if he has +1 over no +1. He also has more mortals as well. Gotta be worth mentioning that actually early in this game, stats committed into DTs, which didn't do anything, and then Blink and Stalkers, which also haven't done anything. And as the game continues, Stalkers are not really what you want in the composition anymore. And so, having invested into so much of this, those are investments which don't really add up for him. Okay, sure, there's Blink up for Zest as well, but at least he actually kept some of his Stalkers alive. He didn't actually lose some and then have to rebuild to stay safe. So, in general, again, Zest just trading much better throughout the game. DTs have been picked off as Sentry Stalkers. Did lose his Oracle. I guess the Oracle actually dived in and traded for a Sentry. I've been very bad at following the Oracles this game. I do apologize. Zest just moves on around. Still another Oracle just looking for some information. I mean, he's known about these units or these structures over here for quite some time. Zest is going to start moving out into the map. Some Stalkers are going to lead the charge. This Stalker here going to have to blink back immediately. Stalkers of Zest blink forwards, do some good damage on it as well, once again. These units continue to push down into the bottom left-hand side of this gateway. Going to take a little bit of damage. Doesn't quite go down right away, though. These Zealots of Stats going to see what they can do. A Stalker blinks to the side. Zest going to force some nice force fields down. Obviously, force fields very good against these Zealots. However, the Archon does break the force field. Zest needs to be careful because Stats warping in another huge wave of Zealots. Zest has a lot of Archons here, though, and those Archons will do a lot of splash to the Zealots. However, Stats seems to be breaking through. Nice kiting now by Zest. Going to change this a little bit. Zealots charge once again. Stats going to get into a good aggressive position, but now Zealots from Zest. And now Zest is going to start turning this away. Double overcharge very preemptively. Just stop Stats coming down here. Zest will survive with a lot of money in the bank, by the way. He can rebuild a lot of Immortals and Archons almost instantly. And he's also started up +2, so he's going to look to maintain that attack upgrade advantage in the game, which didn't give him too much of an advantage in that last fight. Fourth base now coming up from Stats to the bottom left, something we'll see Zest probably moving towards shortly, just checking perhaps that there's nothing over here trying to block it. Moving this direction is sort of suggestive that he wants to maybe take that base as his fourth. Would be kind of normal. This base here is very far forward, so there's no reason to expand there before you expand here. And Zest just again have a lot of money to spend. He just warped in a few Stalkers. I like it, a little bit of a harassment squad, but he starts to win the larger fights, and usually you win the larger fights by actually being able to have enough units. And right now, again, he's not spending all that money. He is adding on 4 more gateways, which should help him with that issue. He needs a few more pounds as well, which have just finished up to keep him away from that supply block. What are these 4 Stalkers going to do? I mean, they can blink in and do damage here and there, but where do they blink in? I guess they just go straight towards the natural. Meanwhile, a DT and a Hallucinated Phoenix to the right-hand side. The Stats just again trying to figure out what's happening, what's up, what in general is going on. Obviously the DT looking to harass as well, but actually backs away from the 4th base. Realizes he's not going to actually get a kill over there if he reveals himself now. He'd rather just wait and then come back in and actually target down a few probes when they're there and mining. So Stats just waiting for the opportunity to really deal damage. Meanwhile, these Stalkers went into the natural. Warpin apparently has defended that rather easily. Quite a lot of units here from Stats though, just to defend. I mean, that's what? 6 Stalkers, 2 Zealots to defend 4 Stalkers. So even though Zest isn't even doing damage for these Stalkers, he's still forcing so much of Stats' army to be out of location. And that will make it so that there's a little bit more for Zest over here in this fight than there is for Stats. As we see, Stats is actually going to try and run forwards into this, but that's not good. A little bit of Stats' army is going to start fighting very early on here. And Zest has this Warp Prism as well to micro. In fact, so does Stats. Oh, this is not good for Stats at all. Just segregated with his army. But now Zest splitting his own army up. Zealots are going to take a little while to charge in here. He's going to have to pull back those Archons until he's ready. Nice Prism Micro on one of these Archons at least. As Zest is going to win the fight to the south. He's winning the fight to the north as well. Still microing with these Archons. There's actually no Archons left at all here from Stats. He brings his Stalkers from the main base down here as well. But Zest has completely steamrolled him in this engagement. The attack upgrade obviously playing a role. But just good micro and just a good position for the fight to happen for him in general. And that's going to be this Nexus getting picked off in the next few moments. And as Zealots come on in here, it's going to be more and more pick off Zest. Going to do a fantastic job of clearing all of this up. GG's. Zest will advance into the winners match here.